Yes, it's time to do business again. We have 25 minutes this time, and here's what we've prepared for you. Africa's Digital Future AI Summit, that's holding in South Africa. Price of cocoa is surging. The EU new guidelines, that's causing a lot of trouble for Africans. Egypt is looking at new rules for the banking sector. Welcome to the program. This is Business Incorporated. I'm Ini John McCoy. We start from the global oil space. Prices continue to fall and on track to snap a two-week winning streak. And that's despite settling higher in the previous session following a report that U.S. President Donald Trump is not interested in returning to previous deal themes with Iran. So looking at the numbers this afternoon, we see a little bit of recovery for Brent compared to what we had in the morning, even though that's not the case for WTI. So 0.26% up for Brent at $89.93. You can notice that it's still below $90. WTI is 0.27% on the flip side, $83.38. And then we have for gas this afternoon, 0.17% drop is what we have at $2.91. A combination of U.S. tactics moving to economic sanctions rather than military pressures and talks of Oman-Iran's joint corridor have led to risk premiums declining. Researchers say that the U.S. announced what it called the toughest sanctions in history on Iran. Earlier in the week, we heard that, and Tehran said that the sanctions were an inhumane and hostile act that had lost their effectiveness. The Prime Minister of Qatar met with senior Iranian leaders in Tehran and stressed the importance of returning to the pre-war status of opening shipping through international waterway. Metals have also been reacting to that. Gold prices today ticked lower. Investors are awaiting Federal Reserve Chair Kevin Walsh's remarks at the Jackson Hole Symposium. That's later on today, and that of course will give a hint as to interest rate direction. And so we see spot gold dropped for this afternoon, 0.27%, $4,461.20. Spot silver is on the flip side, 1.24% up, $70.29. Palladium is also up 2.38% at $1,897.90. Palladium almost half 5% increase. That's a huge move at $1,420.50. And copper is almost less than 1%, that's 0.5%, up at $6.73 per pound. And cocoa prices rallied sharply, posting a three-week high on concern about the quality of this year's West African cocoa crops. The lack of sunshine in the Ivory Coast and Ghana is allowing black pod disease to spread, and that is lowering the quality of cocoa bean. Concern about a smaller cocoa crop from Ghana, the world's second largest cocoa producer, is bullish for prices. Ghana's Cocoa Board said that after a field survey of pod count, it estimates that 2026-2027 Ghana cocoa crop will be 650,000 metric tons down, and that's about 13% from what it was last year, which was at 750,000. Cocoa prices have also underlying support from early surveys of the 2026-2027 Ivory Coast cocoa crop, which show below average formation on cocoa trees, signaling a weak outlook for the main cocoa harvest, which begins in September. Early crop assessments show poor pods development and an average estimate of 1.8 metric tons for the season starting in September. That's down about 18% from about 2.2 metric tons that was in 2025-2026. Prices had been under pressure this week on signs of abundant global cocoa supplies, and Nigeria's July cocoa bean exports, that went up about 18% year on year to 16,052 metric tons. Nigeria is the world's fifth largest cocoa producer. Also, cumulative data from Ivory Coast, which is the world's largest cocoa producer, show that farmers shipped 2.11 million metric tons of cocoa to ports in the current marketing year. That's from October 1, 2025 to August 2nd, 2026. That shows an increase of about 20% compared to the same period a year ago. And Indonesia Deputy Minister of Trade has identified key export commodities, including crude palm oil and frozen shrimp, to boost trade with Morocco and capitalize on unrealized export potential. According to him, Indonesia has significant yet unrealized export potential to Morocco for products such as crude, ammonia, processed palm oil, semi-finished iron and steel, frozen shrimp, among others. And beyond these commodities, he notes that Indonesia could expand export of several other products as the two nations bolster their trade relations. Morocco plays a crucial role for Indonesia as a supplier of strategic goods, particularly fertilizer and aluminium. According to her, expanding market access is a primary reason the government is pushing to accelerate negotiations on the Indonesia-Morocco trade agreement, which is targeted for completion by 2027. Away from commodities now, Gambia. The Gambia has ranked third among sub-Saharan African countries assessed in the 2025 Open Budget Survey, scoring 36 out of 100 on budget transparency. And this is according to findings unveiled by Gambia participants in the event which happened earlier this week. The survey placed Sierra Leone at the top of selected sub-Saharan African countries, followed by Senegal, and then the Gambia came third, ahead of Nigeria and Ghana. The findings marks a significant improvement for the Gambia compared with its earlier performance in the Open Budget Survey. But the country's score still remained below the benchmark of 61 out of 100, which the survey identified as the minimum level required to support informed public debate on national budgets. China and Zimbabwe have reaffirmed their commitment to deepening bilateral economic and trade ties at the 11th session of the Joint Commission on Economic, Technical and Trade Cooperation in the Zambian capital of Harare. The session was co-chaired by Zimbabwean Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Amon Muwira, and Chinese Assistant Minister of Commerce, Zhangli Li. They provided a platform to translate existing bilateral agreements between the two countries into tangible economic opportunities, including increased trade and investment, value addition, and job creation. Both sides agreed to fully implement the 10 partnership actions initiated at the 2024 Beijing Summit of the Forum of China-Africa Cooperation, further expand optimize bilateral trade and accelerate negotiations on the Economic Partnership for Shared Development Agreement. They've also agreed to encourage more Chinese enterprises to invest and operate in Zimbabwe, support Zimbabwe in extending and upgrading its mining industrial chain, and advance industrial upgrading. And the minister said that China and Zimbabwe enjoy a long-standing friendship based on mutual respect and strategic partnership, noting that the partnership has delivered monumental development across critical sectors of Zimbabwe's economy. And the Central Bank of Egypt has green-lighted regulations relating to the use of a digital ID service known as the Digital Financial Identity, DFI. It's a platform for electronic Know Your Customer processes by all banking institutions in the country. According to a CBE announcement, the regulations come as part of an ongoing push to streamline digital banking services and drive financial inclusion across the country. The CBE said the rate of financial inclusion in Egypt was 79% as of June. Approved by its board of directors, the new regulations will align with the country's vision for the transition to modernization of digital financial services. The governor of the bank, Hassan Abdulada, is quoted as saying that the new DFI platform legal framework is aimed at making it possible to easily verify identity of Egyptians who wish to access banking services without having to visit the bank physically. And business leaders, policy makers, technology experts, they are in Johannesburg and they are there for the AI Africa Summit 2026. The summit is focusing on the forces shaping Africa's economic future, including technology, artificial intelligence, digital transformation, and the role of business in AI driving inclusive growth. A South Africa correspondent, Innocent Samosa, is there and reports.
Business and technology leaders are meeting here in Sandton Convention Center to unpack how Africa can harness innovation and digital economies to accelerate economic growth and remain competitive in a rapidly changing global economy.
I wouldn't want to say it comes with a lot of joblessness. Basically what it does, it helps us to build skills that we never thought of. Like, remember now when you're dealing with AI, it requires human intelligence, and that is why you see my title says Intelligent Hyper-Automation. It is something that you cannot outsource, and only a human has intelligence. And that intelligence then is directed to training these agents, So that is where now we need to start reskilling. Look at the opportunities rather than the disadvantages. Opportunities such as you're intelligent as a human being. How can you best use that intelligence?
Financial decisions can often be complex and overwhelming, and intelligence assistance helps to simplify that. If a customer asks, what should I do with this home loan? How should I invest? That's really where we see AI transforming. It's like creating that value of AI isn't giving people more information. It's giving them the right information at the right time, at the right moment.
Meanwhile, South African commercial bank ABSA is looking to deepen its presence in Africa with a particular focus on Angola and Nigeria.
We have a rep office in Nigeria, and given that we have been there for quite a while, we have developed appropriate insight as to the client opportunity. And we think it's about time that we convert that license into a merchant banking license. That will allow us to do CIB-related banking activity so that we can contribute to the development of Nigeria, support our clients, and in the process, expand our own footprint as a bank. That opportunity we think is huge. With regard to Angola, we want to enter Angola with the rep office first so that we can develop local insight and be able as well to understand the regulatory framework, build relationship, and at some future date, we'll also consider converting that into a different banking license.
Will AI replace jobs or simply redefine them? As technology continues to transform the workplace, the challenge will be ensuring that workers are equipped with the skills to adapt. The future may not be about human versus machines, but about how effectively the two can work together. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
Yeah, thank you so much, Innocent. It's an AI conversation every part of the world, and some questions or some fears and concerns have been raised with this accelerated adoption of artificial intelligence. For instance, how do you deal with misleading information? Deep fake, some people may not even be able to differentiate it. We've seen some deep fakes advertising some investments, some even using my face and my voice, which obviously I'm not a part of. Let's see how we can differentiate this and make the most of the opportunity that AI brings and avoid the risks and dangers that come with it. And we're doing this with the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Data Global Hub. He's also the Chief Executive Officer of AI Every Time, joining us right here virtually. He's joining us from the United States. That's Majid Abisiga. Majid, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great. So AI comes with the goods and the bads, because, for instance, there are many reports that indicate that entry-level jobs are almost out, and yet it also comes with the potential, but it also brings with it increased cyber activity and threats, and issues like misinformation, deep fakes, and all of that. They are also a threat that comes with this huge adoption of AI. Can businesses still control their brand narratives with this?
Yes, businesses can control their brand narrative with this. So, firstly, like they have to come up with like a standard way of doing this. And so, firstly, like um, they have to. One way I would recommend is that um, so maybe if like things being said about businesses online. Let's say, for example, a company. So one thing that they can do is they can use a way to assess maybe kind of things that are being said about their brand online, maybe in terms of sentiment or maybe in terms of misinformation. There are so many tools out there like that can do that, like some tools that you can use to assess like the risk or um, the sentiments around like what they are saying about your brand, and then based on that, like um, some measures can be taken or some plans can be put into place to avert that. Like say, maybe if after assessing what is being said about your brand online through like AI, then you can maybe make a public disclosure, like letting everyone know that that's not what is the right thing because like you've been able to assess what is being said online using AI. So that's one way I would recommend. That's one way I would recommend like to avoid that. Then also like if you find anything being said or being published about like your brand or maybe about the company, you can also like post publicly that oh, okay, this particular information that is being published online that is false or something like that. So I've seen a lot of deepfake pictures or videos all around the internet. Like I think um, there was one around war or something like that. There was really nothing happening around the war, and then like it was causing a lot of conflict and a lot of issues on the internet. So first thing is to first be able to even know what is being said, like maybe using like some tools or developing an AI system to first find out those things and then publicly disclosing that these things are not right. And then if you are the one producing those if you are the one publishing things and you are using AI to actually publish those information, like you can also, create some form of filters around the like generation of those contents to make sure that it doesn't talk about some certain things or some things that could create maybe issues of misinformation. For example, maybe talking about political opinions or maybe things that usually cause conflict in the society. So there are ways to actually create limitations for all those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad that you went that way because I was just about to ask you the precautionary steps. So you've noted one or two of them, which is if you're a content creator, then you can put some, I think, buzzwords or something. That's what they call it when it has to do with those things. It will trip off. But what about for those who are not content creators, businesses who find their brands being misconceived or misrepresented through AI?
Okay, so um, I think it's a good thing that we have ethics like in AI and regulations in AI. So I think the first thing is that I will put this in everyone's hands. So like if and I also say that everyone like should support or to push more for ethics regarding AI. So if everyone knows that there's ethics or there are regulations regarding AI, so they know that there's there's a penalty for doing that, or and is in everybody's hands. It's a responsibility for everyone to make sure that whatever they are putting out there is correct. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is that brands to also have to create defensive and or an armor of tools or whatever to make sure that whatever is being said about their brand is being monitored strictly, like, detecting words or sentiments on the internet, or maybe even images or everything, like constantly running that tool to check what is being said about their brand and maybe giving it a risk score, maybe medium, low, or high. If it is high, then like probably a press release has to be made or a public announcement has to be made to 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 revert that, or to publicly acknowledge that that's false or something like that. And then if it's medium, maybe other ways could be. So that's what can come to my head right now regarding that. But obviously, it's something I can also think of creative ways, later on, how to solve that.
All right, Majid, thank you so much for that. So obviously, more work for CEOs and businesses to keep their brand safe and well arranged or well branded. I guess that's what I want to say. Majid Abisiga is the CEO and founder of Data Global Hub. He's also the CEO and founder of AI Every Time. Thank you so much for your time.
Well,
let's head to the markets now. And the good thing is that from morning where we had a red opening, the NGX has recovered at intraday. It's at 0.06%. But we're still struggling with the 239,000 level. And then for Johannesburg, it's more than 1% in the green, 118,071. Going to other markets, Egypt is closed today, and then Nairobi closed positive yesterday, slightly positive, any little move, and then we'll see it fall off. Moving to the Middle East, markets are closed today because it's either their scheduled weekend or they have concluded their standard trading hours, while some investors may be recalling the extraordinary temporary two-day market shutdowns that occurred in March 2026 following the geopolitical escalation. So the markets, all of them, normally we have two markets trading on Friday, but now all four of them, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Tadawul, and Qatar, are closed today, Friday. And then in the United States, just a little bit of change is what we see with the Dow Jones. Even with the S&P, even though it's in the red, but it's just a little bit. NASDAQ is the one that has the biggest fall right there. Of course, NVIDIA is still a driver in the market at this time. Asia Pacific markets, the close Friday, no major regional catalyst, but all focusing on the Jackson Hole speech that's expected in a couple of hours. To see Nikkei in the red, in the green, Kospi in the red, Hang Seng in the red, and the other markets are also mixed at the close of trade. Moving to Europe now, we have a story about Germany's richest man. He's a supermarket billionaire. He's taking on big tech by investing billions in his cloud company in a bid to challenge Google, Microsoft, Amazon. Well, we have Chip to gist us more about this. Hey, Chip, welcome to the program. Tell us about this rich man.
Well, the latest investment is for a data center near Rostock in northern Germany. The Schwarz Group, which is owned by billionaire Dieter Schwarz, will invest 5.6 billion euros to build a data center there. And that will be the second data center that the company is building. It is building another one in the state of Brandenburg, which neighbors Berlin. Now, the Schwarz Group employs more than 500,000 people around the world, and it is actually better known for its supermarket chains Lidl and Kaufland. But it has also been providing IT services through its Schwarz Digits division, and the company wants to play a role in Europe's push for digital independence. Now, Schwarz Group wants to offer more digital services so that European companies are less dependent on US and Chinese providers.
So, Chip, what economic impact can we expect from this move?
Well, thousands of workers will, of course, be needed for the construction of the data center in northern Germany. And once it is up and running, 120 highly skilled positions will be created, according to the Schwarz Group. And of course, Other jobs will be created at regional businesses, which will provide the data center with maintenance and other services. And it's also good news for the European Union because, of course, the bloc does need to at least quadruple its computing power to catch up with the United States and China. But this investment also comes when AI is increasingly being questioned. There are concerns that increased digitization and automation may lead to job losses. And here in Germany, thousands of jobs have been slashed from industry. So any investments in AI and computing will need to benefit the communities that they are in if they are to get the buy-in from voters.
Yeah, well, we're just talking about AI there, the positives and the negatives. But thank you so much, Chip, and do have a great weekend. Now, moving to the crypto space now, political battle over cryptocurrency in the United States, that's intensifying. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren is turning her attention to President Donald Trump's growing crypto business interest, and that has been in the news even before now. That's in the United States. President Trump is in the spotlight, and Public Citizen $4.7 billion investor losses. That's also another story. UK investors reported gains. What a contradiction there. And then the Chainlink rises 5% as Charles adds link to it. Well, those are the stories on the crypto space, and that's it for the program Business Incorporated, the last one for this week. But we'll start again on Monday, God's grace. And other than that, I'll see you tonight. Let's hope this recovery on the NGX will be sustained until the close of trade. I'm Ini John Mekwa. I'll see you tonight.